Hello, my name is Coco Ford, and this is about Interpersonal Communications 203. There are more isms than just to worry about than just racism. There are many faces to oppression. When many people think of oppression, the first thing comes to their mind is racism, which is one of the main isms, faces of oppression, but there are many more. And I feel like and the first step to stopping or combating oppression is to know how to identify it. If I was to walk up to you in the grocery store and say you don't belong because of your skin color, you will immediately get defensive and look at me crazy like I've grown two heads. But if I was to walk up to you and say, oh, you a woman, you're not allowed in the store, or because you're a heterosexual couple or you're a homosexual couple, you cannot shop here, you will laugh me off and walk off like it's nothing. I feel like because that's normalized in our society today. Sexism and heterosexism is normal rather than racism. I am throwing out all these terms like discrimination and oppression, and I didn't even give you the proper definition so you can properly take in the information I'm telling you so you can know how to identify when you are in the face of oppression. Oppression is a cruel or unjust treatment or control of a group. But let's just focus on the unjust treatment. This has been around for centuries, decades, years, and I feel like it's a source of power. And that power main source is discrimination. Discrimination is an unjust treatment. Is unjust treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the ground of race, age, and sex. See, there go that term again, unjust treatment. And I feel like that's the first step to fighting oppression, is to be able to identify that unjust treatment, if it's you giving it out or you receiving it. See, common knowledge about the ism is more important to me as the first step of fighting it. I'm going to break down to you racism, sexism, and heterosexism. I feel I should start with racism first because that's the broad thing, and it's at the forefront of our society right now with all the unjust killings and all the protests and the Black Lives Matters and say her name and say his name. So racism is a set of institutional, cultural, or interpersonal practices that create advantages for the people legally defined and socially constructed as white. I'm going to play onto institutional policy and principle making because a lot of people don't understand that sometimes racism is institutionalized and some people don't realize it when they've been racist. But it has been proven fact that back when banks was purposely denying black loans, black home loans, business loans, they was placing blacks in underserving communities with underserving schools and food markets and jobs, and purposely placing the whites in the more advantaged communities with the advantaged education so they can keep that white supremacy at the top. People only just understand like, oh, he's black, so he's a criminal, or he fit the description, but it's so much deeper than that. It is really deeper than that. Depends on how you was raised, because in my black household, we was raised to know how to identify it. When, where, however, anything that we was doing, we know how to identify it. But I have white classmates that I love near and dear. They don't know how to identify it. One of my classmates asked me, I don't even know if I ever been racist, because it's not her reality, and she wasn't raised that way. So she get the common knowledge about racism, she'll know how to identify it when she's the one who's projecting this discrimination off, or when someone's around her. She'll be able to inform another one of her white counterparts about, oh, that's unacceptable. That's not right. And the other person probably unconsciously doing it. And by her knowing just the basics, or even more by educating herself, she'll be able to educate her, and she'll be able to educate her, and they'll keep going on and on. Just like I feel like sexism. Like, let me ask you this. How can over 50% of our society population be oppressed without a revolution on our hands? Because it's been normalized. It's been normalized. It's been around for years, and people think it's right. Sexism, gender roles from birth. Boys wear blue, girls wear pink. Girls is the homemakers, boys make the money. That's normal. People are raising their kids to normalize that. Like, it's unfortunate, but it's a part of our society. Because sexism is a prejudice or stereotype thinking and discrimination against women. Like, if an overly qualified woman and an underqualified man apply to the same job, that man will get the job and he will get a higher pay. Like, when you think of a woman, people automatically think wife, mother, homemaker, nurse. They don't think of judge, lawyer, doctor, business owner. That normalized sexism that we have to stop. We have to identify it. Like, women is sexually objectified all day, every day. But they feel like a man can't be sexually objectified because that's a masculine thing. Men love sex. Like, now let me ask you this. When you think of love, couples, power couples, the idea of love, what pops up in your head? I'll give you a second. If you say a man and a woman, heterosexual couple, I feel you unconsciously is practicing heterosexism, because just like sexism, it has been normalized in our society for so long, people don't think it's wrong. It's no media display of homosexuality. It's not taught in the schools. It's not in the books. When a little girl is playing house, she automatically get a husband. People don't think nothing wrong with it. When little kids get toys, little girls get Barbie dolls. And she's like, oh, you're going to be my husband. This is our baby. Why? It's normalized. It has been institutional. It's like generational, institutionalized discrimination against homosexual couples, because this population is growing. And it's growing fast. And they out here screaming, hear me roar. Heterosexism, again, prejudice against homosexuals and the assumption that heterosexuality is the normal sexual orientation. I asked a couple of my friends and family members, like, how do you feel if a cartoon show come out and the kids got two dads or two moms? Now, two moms, they okay with it. I guess because the sexism role of mothers is natural born nurturers. But two men raising kids, they was opposed of it. They feel like they teaching kids homosexuality at a young age and trying to get kids to be homosexuals, but not displaying the reality that some kids actually do have two dads or two moms, and it's normal. I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. If you in public and you see a homosexual couple, two males, holding hands, do you cringe? Do you look away? Do you be like, nah, they ain't gotta do all that? Or kissing? Or how about on television when it's a gay sex scene come on your TV show? Do you turn, or do you say, man, look, they got all this on the TV? Heterosexism. Because you've been taught, it's been drilled in your head since you was born that the normal sexuality is heterosexual, man and a woman, man and a woman, man and a woman. They love each other. It's in the Bible. They say homosexuality is abomination. It's in the Bible, and it's not fair to the people who love who they love. They have to constantly hide and get ridiculed and harassed because they love who they love, and they can't love out loud and love in public like heterosexuals. So it's not fair. And I feel like sexism and heterosexism is just as big as racism, but people do not want to talk about it. Just like they don't want to talk about racism, but they can't, because racism is like so big. But sexism and heterosexism is just as big. Like, now that I've given you guys an earful about some definitions, some background, some examples, you know how to spot it and how to check your own biases when you end the conversation like that. And now that you know how to identify it, and now that you know that you have a bias against it, we need to learn some effective communication ways to help. Like, everything starts on a micro level, personal level. You got to be the change you want to see in the world, right? So a couple of body language, non-verbal messages goes a long way. Non-verbal, facial expressions, body language. Like, all that. If you see a homosexual couple come up, you don't have to speak, you don't have to stare. You can give them a smile, a nod, go about your day. You don't twist your face up, don't cringe, don't move, don't like, because they're not contagious. They're people, just like we are. They just love a different sex than you would prefer. Emotional messages. Learn how to identify the right emotion to display at the right time when you're dealing with a woman or a homosexual couple. Like, stay platonic. Like, you don't have to wear all your emotions on the sleeve for a situation. Emotional messages, non-verbal messages are very, very much louder than verbal messages half the time. Because I don't know about you, but I can tell when someone's body language is uncomfortable with me. Just because I'm a woman or a black woman at that. So just imagine how these couples feel who's already at odds with society and they can't even shop at a local grocery store because everybody cringing when they see them. So you just got to check your verbal, non-verbal messages. Like if you was to engage in a conversation with a homosexual, you can just nod. Like you agree with what he's saying. Body language relaxed. If you want to speak, open your mouth to let them know that you have something to say instead of being rude and obnoxious and loud. One last thing, I feel like small talk is heavily influenced by culture. If you learn how to create small talk, even a little bit, with an opposite culture of yours, like, or a woman, if you like a manly man, if you can create a small talk with a woman without objectifying her to sexual jokes and terms, that will go a long way. Because small talk, if you just learn how to educate yourself and get off them false stereotypes, you will change a lot. And after all this research I done, being a social work student, major, this all we read about. All we learn how to combat is the common thing is to bring awareness. Goes back to educating yourself. When you educate yourself, you can bring awareness on a micro level, personal level, friends, family, colleagues, children that you're bringing up, because you can constantly transform them biases onto your children. So I say, educate yourself, check them biases, get rid of them false stereotypes, nonverbal messages, work on that body language, that small talk, and them emotional messages.